House of X issue number 3. Not my Cyclops, not my G, not my anybody. Last I remember, he had an eye patch. Now he's got 2 eyes. She wasn't wearing this uniform last I remember. This guy, this guy. I think that this is Magneto from her 8th life. This is the Charles Xavier who she married. This is, well, it's definitely not our Jean Grey. Look how young she is. And dude over here, this is the same Wolverine we just saw stab her because he's the best she is at what he does, and what he does isn't the best. I believe that Moira has found a way to bring her past lives friends and birth them into this world. We saw what I think is alluding to that in issue number 1 of House of X. Now, I've been right predicting things about House of X. Powers of 10, I told you, was the 9th life of Moira. Look at the title of my Powers of X 2 review. I called it out there. I'm calling this out here. I know my stuff, and I have a proven track record. That being said, if it is the case, it would upset me that these X-Men are not our X-Men. Even though the X-Men have a convoluted timeline and a confusing history, they are still the history. As much as some of us may not like that Cyclops breathed in the Inhuman gas, he inhaled it and he died, and that's his story. That's canon, okay? I don't play with canon, and I don't do that. Just introducing a new Cyclops who may or may not be dead at the end of this issue. Introducing a new Cyclops doesn't change the way I feel or make me feel like, yes, finally, I don't have to think about the confusing history of the X-Men. No, it's disrespectful to the stories that came before it and the time I spent reading every single X-Men story. I actually purposely don't read Age of X-Men, kind of the things that don't matter, that are not 616. I never read the Ultimate Universe because I respect my time. That's the way I think. I don't read What If stories or Infinity Warps. That wasn't for me. That being said, the comic book is actually pretty cool. Let me open up my notes because I took notes. The first thing I took notes of was when Jean Grey said that these are just humans who are scared for their life, scared for their species. And I jotted that shit down because I was going to trash on it, because the very next page was some beautiful artwork of a spaceship flying. That was great. But the very next page was Wolverine telling her down. Like, how you think humans came from sticks to bombs? These scientists are guilty as soldiers are, equally or more so because because what they do is multiplied by the soldiers who use their weapons. Don't play with me, okay? And he got off a bub, and he got off a slim. Emma Frost got off a darling when she saved Sabretooth over there in the diplomatic immunity kind of security jail. There can only be 25 inmates at a time, and you're allowed 1 visitation a year, but so far no one's even taken up on that visitation a year. Interesting. Sabretooth is free. The 2 cuckoos who showed up, the dead ones who I called out in my first review, the dead cuckoos show up and they're not too fond on Sabretooth. Who the hell are these people, man? These are not my X-Men. We jump back over to the Mother Mold, which is, by the way, fully operational. The bad guys are talking to each other, and then the good guys show up. They just snuck up. They used Jupiter to orbit around and boost their speed and showed up. That was a cool touch on the story. And here comes Nightcrawler. He's just teleporting and bamfing like Goku. Hey, hey, hey. And shows up. Ooh, the villains. What? How are the X-Men here? How do they know? That face that she made when she's caught. This is the face of a red-handed weasel who was caught red-handed. This bigot, mutant-hating idiot. Reminds me of a TV show that I saw called What Would You Do? It was happened in Portland. There was a homeless guy outside of a restaurant. A good guy took him inside, got to feed him. The good guy left, and the spectators, the restaurant customers, were there too. They got the bartender to tell the homeless guy, who are all actors, hey, you gotta go. Homeless guy leaves the restaurant, and these contestants on the show, they all asked him, what would you do? And one of them assholes said, yeah, he should be gone, this homeless guy. They brought the cameras up close to his face, and he made this face. And he said some stupid excuse like, I was just thinking what's best for him. It's best for him to be in a shelter. Fuck out of here. That was the face of this villain here, okay? I will provide a link to this story at the end of the video because I saw it on YouTube, and I want you to see it on YouTube too. That man's face was this over here. Good guys show up, and it looks like the good guys won. They have everything figured out. They had the whole plan, and the bad guys are so confused. They tried to call in their Sentinel backup squad, but they're too busy on Venus, and they're way too far away to reach it, because the good guys had their shit figured out. Even when they said, we gotta go to the loading dock, when they try to jump the ship or join the ship, we're gonna have guns fired on them. They're gonna make their own way. And when the X-Men start acting according to their plan, the villains start acting not accordingly. They do irrational moves. One of the guys says goodbye to his woman, and he blows himself up. And yes, it looks like the whole Mother Mold station has went down. But that's the final page. Wait a minute, did he blow himself up and blow up the X-Men's X jet? It wasn't an X jet. It was a Shi'ar Empire jet. Two. Did we just lose everybody? I mean, Wolverine probably survived. Sure, Nightcrawler can teleport people in and out. But why couldn't I just have the? Oh yes, and that's where I got the theory of they're expendable X-Men. They're not our X-Men. And I hope that's not the case. It would make me dislike the story. There's a difference between Age of X-Men, who told me after 6 issues what they're doing is not canon, and something like returning to the status quo. Let me get on that. From House of M to AVX, we had a story. They were an endangered species, no more mutants for the longest time. And then they returned to the status quo after AVX because Iron Fist. Because it was an 8-year thing, maybe that's why I'm okay with it. Everything felt meaningful. And that also wasn't the only story. They had lots of stuff in between, with even like things that were happening with the Avengers with Norman Osborn. That all played a part. They did a Utopia. They introduced us to New Mutants. I'm sure no New Mutants were born, but I mean, the younger X-Men kind of got their own comic book, and they were getting focused on, and we were learning more about Toad and people who we usually don't care for were getting shine put on them. There was a whole lot that happened in that 8-year period. That's why I'm okay with that one, returning the status quo. But this, I can't get with, no matter how confusing the X-Men timeline and lore is. These are still my X-Men. Magneto wearing a silver suit. It's the same one he was wearing in Powers of 10's flashback. It's the same one from Moira's Life, number 8. It's just like this, and this guy doesn't have an eye. I hope that this is not the case, and I hope that this comic book is actually like canon. Maybe that's why all the other books in the Marvel Universe aren't mentioning the mutants. This is the link to the video that I was talking to you about. Thank you for watching Showmonger. Thumbs up my video.